This episode is brought to you by listeners like you, the last spark of hope in a world running low on signal. You're the boost behind this mic in these static filled times. Stay tuned and stay human. On this episode of the podcast, and there is another person at the table, and this person, because them have some technology in the future where them can basically similar to what we have with devices. So it's like him doing the device basically, and him there at the table, and him not really listen to the conversation with the two of them have, and it's made clear when the cousin shout at the person and say, we need to talk to him and thing, and him no respond, no, come like he no hear nothing. Answers just moments away.
Prepare for warp speed as we embark on a voyage through the vast expanse of science fiction in movies and television series. From distant planets to alien civilizations, we delve into the heart of the unknown, unraveling the tales that have captivated audiences for generations. Get ready to unlock the secrets of the universe on CodeFlix.
Welcome to CodeFlix, where we analyze sci-fi and fantasy TV shows and movies through the lens of reality. I'm your host, Andre Bonner, and today I unpack Children of Men, Hope in a World Without a Future. So, what happens when a society built on control, fear, and authoritarian rule is faced with a crisis it cannot solve? In Children of Men, even a fascist system proves powerless against the collapse of fertility. Set in a bleak dystopian future where humanity has lost the ability to reproduce. The film shows a world descending into despair, violence, and hopelessness. Yet, in the middle of all that darkness, countless lives are risked, and many are lost, to protect one unborn child, a symbol of hope in a dying world. What makes Children of Men so powerful is a lasting question it leaves behind. How do we value life when society begins to lose its humanity? It reminds us that preserving life is not just about survival, it's about how we choose to live, how we care for one another, and whether we can still find compassion when the world seems determined to abandon it. Children of Men is a 2006 dystopian action thriller film directed and co-written by Alfonso Cuarón. The screenplay was based on P.D. James' 1992 novel The Children of Men, was credited for 5 writers, with Clive Owen making uncredited contributions. The film is set in 2026, next year, from our standpoint, when 2 decades of human fertility have left humanity on the brink of collapse. Asylum seekers seek sanctuary in the United Kingdom, where they are subjected to detention, deportation, and execution by the government. Owen plays civil servant Theo, who tries to help refugee Claire Hope Ashley to escape the chaos. Children of Men also stars Julianne Moore, Chitwell Ejiofor, Pam Ferris, Charlie Hunnam, and Michael Caine. The film was released by Universal Pictures on the 22nd of September 2006 in the UK and on the 25th of December in the US. Despite the limited release and lack of any clear marketing strategy during award season by the film's distributor, Children of Men received acclaim and was recognized for its achievements in screenwriting, cinematography, art direction, and innovative single-shot action sequences. While it underperformed at the box office, it was nominated for 3 Academy Awards: Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing. It was also nominated for 3 BAFTA Awards, winning Best Cinematography and Best Production Design, and for 3 Saturn Awards, winning Best Science Fiction Film. The film has received enduring acclaim and has been frequently cited as one of the best dystopian films and often lauded as one of the greatest films of the 2000s and of the 21st century. It was voted 13th in a BBC Critics poll on the best film released between 2000 and 2016 by the film critics from around the world. So these are my personal insights and interpretations of Children of Men, including some of my favorite moments and the characters. So I have to just start off with this, right? When I saw the title for this film, and I was like, this would make probably a good episode. Just by the title, just by the title, I was like, probably this is something with some aliens coming down and doing some experimentation on human beings, and the title and the actual thumbnail image that you see come up in when you search it on Google. That's what I was looking at. Yeah, so I a little miffed that I was wrong, but at the same time, I say, all right, yeah, man, this not bad. Watching it was really a treat, and I decided to do the episode because it's just so clear that there's so many different elements we can touch on, from the infertility to the rampant violence, deportation, immigration struggles, governmental institutions. There are so many things we can talk about that mirror reality in this film. So without further ado, let's get into the interpretation. So for me, when I started watching it, I kind of dozed off a little bit, but I realized, after watching it, that the world was in a serious crisis, right? Because our lead actor, we see Theo walking down a street, basically, and he basically come face to face with a bomb that's going off in thing there, and then people are like, oh, there goes the terrorists again, them do it again, and you start to see news being blasted over the airwaves, people reporting on it and stuff, and just the way how it is shot, it just basically gets you into it, like, yeah, this is what you're up for, this is what's going to be what we're seeing. So 2027, I'm not even sure at this point, right? Because I'm recording this in 2026, and as of this point, the way how things are going, it don't look too far off from this reality, because there's a whole lot of things happening, right? Because we've been hearing on the news and in the statistics as well, so it's not just the news reporting it, that birth rates have gone down. It's not necessarily because of an infertility problem, right? I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but I'm saying, it might be a contributing factor in some ways, right? There is a mix of it. Another factor is people just don't want to have more than a certain amount of children anymore, and some people just decide that they're not going to have any because they don't want to bring a child into this world knowing that they're going to have to take care of that child, or have issues taking care of that child, because with the global depression that we're facing, rising prices every day, the blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, which every now and again you hear say, oh, it opening, and then it locked back in a couple hours. That is not stability. So, yeah, civilization as we know it is mirrored through this film. And this was a film from 2006. Huh? All right, so let me continue. So these events are set in the United Kingdom, right? And it has been transformed into this totalitarian police state. And we're seeing where refugees are basically arrested rampantly and them being thrown into cages. Where is this not the thing that is happening again in reality right now? Where is this not happening? It is actually happening in the same UK right now, right? Where people are being picked up and thrown, not necessarily in cages per se, but we don't know where they're being thrown. We don't know. Them take them up and then put them in detention centers. It might as well be flinging them into cages. It's the same thing, right? I'm not encouraging it. I'm just saying that, them take them and take them in buses and take them off into extermination camps, right? That is the next level we could reach, right? Which I don't know if that started, but you might not know, right? Until you know, until things come to light. So Theo, he was a former activist, right? Him kind of change him side because, he don't really pay the bills, to be honest, right? And he's a very cynical bureaucrat, right? Him get kidnapped by the fishes. The fishes are this militant refugee rights group, and they're behind some of the stuff. Even the bombing was blamed on them, but they're claiming that it wasn't them, that it was the government propagandists, doing all of these things, which I don't know if you can trust nor trust them not, because as we later on see, things aren't as they appear even in the same activist group, right? So yeah, sometimes you have to be aware of even the people them who you say boy are trying to rise up against the machine, because some of them might just be there for their own benefit and for their, for whatever reasons they want to be a part of it. So it turns out that the group is led by Theo's estranged wife, right? Which is Julian Taylor, right? So them separate because of their son's death, right, in the 2008 flu pandemic. So that was something that was happening, that, kids were dying off because of some things, and yeah, it was not controllable, right? And if you remember, there was a flu pandemic, or both of them, that erupted around those times. So the writers were actually writing what they were seeing, adding their little spin on it, yes, but at the same time, they were so close to what reality is turning out to be now. So Julian, she recognized the boy, the reason why Theo is a bureaucrat anyways are because of the money. You know what I'm saying? He's there for the money. So she offered him money to acquire transit papers for a young refugee woman named Key. Him I forgot him cousin and beg him and thing. And there's this whole thing with him mentioning to her that, hey, yo, I think I can go to my cousin and ask him that. And she's like, yeah, man, if you ask him, he must do it. It's almost like, yo, anybody else ask him not gonna do it. But if you ask him, anything you ask him, he will do it. Even if I walk in a fire, he will do it. That's how I interpret it, that is. And she's like, all right. He's like, yo, all right, cool, me try. And him go to him, cousin, and him like, yo, you can't help me out and thing. And there's this thing where he's sitting at a table eating, right? The two of them have lunch, right? and there is another person at the table, and this person, yeah, because them have some technology in the future where them can basically similar to what we have with devices. So it's like him there in the device basically, and him there at the table, and him not really listen to the conversation where the two of them have, and it's made clear when the cousin shout at the person and say, we need to talk to him and thing, and him no respond, no, come like he no hear nothing. Anyways, the two of them get up from the table, and in continue to talk to him and, ask him what it entails and what am I doing. Cause this is not something we usually would have asked me for do, even though I would do it, but it want to kind of understand. So, in go and in get the transit papers them now. When time them contact him again, that's the group, him asks for a larger sum of money, right? And Julian seemed to have known him because apparently they were married that long, right? She knows him well enough to know that that is what he would have done. And she tell himself, offer him the money, right? So him get the money same time. And I like saying that for wait because, it wasn't out of his character. Now, Luke is one of the members, them, right? And it's important to mention Luke because Luke seems like one of those persons who are in it for the right, and they're trying to make things better, that kind of thing. Luke is the one that is driving them, right? He might transport Julian, Theo, Key, the midwife named Miriam, for carry them towards Canterbury, right? But while them and them we and before that, let me just mention that there was this nice little scene where it's almost like Julian and Theo, them kind of catch up for lost time, right? Even though them separated, them kind of still have a little bit of affection for one another. And they were just kind of playing like kids, play with one ball and thing. And, Key and Miriam, them they there and them are, they're kind of looking on and kind of smiling, and seeing the kind of bond that they have, right? And them approach some area in the woods basically, and some armed gangs ambush them, shut up the vehicle, bad. So till it killed Julian, right? Them and kill Julian. The group of basically backtrack basically because they can't go that direction there again. But on their way, them get caught by police, right? And of course, them illegal, so you know what I'm saying, and thing. So what does fish the Luke, the fish's member do? Him take out the police them, right? And then go off and go hide Julian body. And there's this moment where we see that Theo just get the weight of all things that's happening because, here he was, kind of catching up and reminiscing and thing in one moment, and the next moment now, he have to go bury him former wife, right? His ex-wife. So of course they escape and get to a safe house location. Theo is told that you can't leave, right? You have to stay and thing, and them basically assign somebody for watch him, right? For the most of the time. We see in a room when Theo is passing that Luke has been basically elevated to being, the leader of the group now and thing, and a lot of persons, are happy to have him as a part of the thing. Then we hear that Key wants to talk to Theo, right? Miriam is sent to get him. She takes him to the barn, right? That's where Key is. and he standing behind a cow, start fair, talk to him, tell him, that Julian trusts Theo implicitly in such a way that, she trusts whatever Theo opinion is. So, and he's like, yo, me kind of done right now because after all I want me see, basically, me can't go no further. This is it for me. And he, if he pull out a last persuasive tactic, we see her pull off her top, right, revealing herself, and we're wondering what gonna happen next. We realize she shows Theo that she is pregnant, right? So that would make her the only known pregnant woman in the world at that time. Yeah. Now, we've been hearing about this human project, right? Julian mentioned it at one point, and Theo was like, I don't know how much them trusted or whatever and thing. And I think even his father mentioned it as well, right? So they are a secret scientific research group, right? And they are trying to find a cure to humanity's infertility, right? So that very same night, as I mentioned, Luke would have become the new leader of the fishes, and Theo eavesdropping upon, the fishes' conversation and learn, say, Luke is actually the one who orchestrated Julian's death, right? And he's planning to kill Theo, right? And use his baby as a political tool to spark a political revolution. Yeah. Now, Theo, Key, and Miriam, them have escape, right? Them find one secluded hideaway where Jasper Palmer have, right? We'll be right back after these messages. And there is another person at the table. And this person, yeah, because them have some technology in the future where, them can basically similar to what we have with devices. So it's like him doing the device basically, and him there at the table. And him not really listen to the conversation where the two of them have. And it's made clear when the cousin shout at the person and say, we need to talk to him and thing, and him no respond and no, come like hear nothing. That to your friend, and him would have been a political cartoonist, right? Jasper now him live with a catatonic wife, right? And her name is Janice. She's a former journalist who was tortured by the government. And I'm guessing that's probably why she's in that catatonic state, right? It's hinted at that is the reason, right? Yeah. The plan now is to reach the human project ship, right? It's called the Tomorrow, right? And it's scheduled to arrive offshore at Bexhill, right? That's one place in an Essex, south or southeast England, right? And it has a notorious refugee detention center, right? Now, Jasper arranged for them to meet up with this immigration officer named Sid, who basically has been trading with for a little while. Him sell cannabis to him, and he's able to help them to smuggle into Bexhill as refugee. Now, Jasper never tells Sid nothing about the baby or nothing, right? So he basically don't know nothing about that part there, right? And from there, so them would have be able to get the rowboat where would have carry them now to rendezvous with the Tomorrow. So the next day now, the fishes, them discover said Jasper House would have been where they were hiding. And basically that force now the whole of them now to leave, ahead of schedule, right? Them never leave on schedule ever in these cases, right? But them leave ahead of schedule now. So Jasper tell them, say, listen, go ahead, you know what I'm saying? We will basically hold on the fort while you guys gone and thing, right? Him euthanize Janice, right? And the pet dog with poison, right? When Luke turn up there and thing, Luke asks one question and him tell him, because he has this little joke that him try to tell to cheer up people in circumstances. Pull my finger and then him fart. And in this case, him tell himself pull him finger and they shoot off his finger. Yeah. Very morbid, right? So he basically, gets killed after, him doing it. Like, even when him finger gets shoot off, that for sure you say him is a real stalwart, Even in the end, when him knows, say, boy, this is it, him still a pull him little joke, same way, right? And I keep his energy level at that level for say, boy, yeah, because him now want to let on about what Theo is doing with Key and Miriam, right? Now, Sid help Theo and Key, Miriam, to get on a bus, right? Which would carry them to the camp, right? Now, Sid, the whole time is like, Sid doesn't need to know this, doesn't need to know that, right? And basically, I tell him, say, listen, I'm just in it for what may I get out of this. I don't business one do, right? I'm just going to just, allow you guys to go through the border and thing and ray. You see me? So now, while them on the bus, Keys water breaks. So say, baby, I come now, right? So one guard now, because them have a little stop where they make, right, to check the bus and everything. So one guard aboard the bus and start to check the passengers them, to scan the passengers them and thing. And him see one guy act funny, right? And them take that guy off of the bus, and throw him out. And then, we see that because of the fact, say, boy, Key in a labor, she a move round. Miriam recognize, say, boy, this is it. She have to try and keep them away from Key. So she distract him by praying loudly, right? And then she gets taken away off of the bus, right? And then Theo fool him into thinking that Key just style herself, right? She pee herself. And of course, the guard no one get nowhere near that. So, him just leave her alone, obviously. You know what I'm saying? I go clean this thing up myself, so I'm leaving, right? So the bus proceeds with them to Bexhill, where they meet up with our Romanian woman, right? Named Marichka, who provides, Theo and Key a room where Key gives birth to a baby girl, right? Which basically, if you understand the significance of those things, is that they value males higher than females because men supposedly represent strength, and women have this kind of weakness to in their understanding. So this isn't a good thing for the fishes, right? So the next day, Sid come now and check on them and thing. I tell them, say that war break out between the British military and the refugees, and that the fish them come and infiltrate the camp. And of course, remember that Theo and Key, they had to run away from the fishes. So them no want to meet up with the fishes them though, right? Are involved in the part of the warrior. Plus, we have the issue now with them having this this baby, before they can even reach their destination, right? Him then reveal to Theo and Key that there's a bounty on them head, and him say, Sid love money basically, you remember I was mentioning that Sid he had no questions before, but now him have plenty of questions and he want to be able to take them in because him can make some money. Him can get something out of it, right? So him attempt to capture them and thing. Now the Romanian woman, which may I already tell you the name, I mess up the name already. She and Theo them subdue Sid, right? And then them have to get some shelter at one of the lady friend them, right? Them are head for one rowboat now, but at the same time when them are head for the rowboat now, them get ambushed by the fishes, right? And them take Key, right? Of course, Luke did the and thing, and Luke still going, and him glad for sister the baby born. But yeah, right, I know you don't really, pay attention to what, the baby and thing, but, in getting them out of there, and basically get order for Luke to be unalived, right? So, the British troop attack at the exact moment, like, it just lucky enough for Theo to be able to escape. Him now track now the fishes now to an apartment building, right, which they under some heavy fire by the military, and I'm saying it'll get bombarded, with bombs and grenades and sort of gunfire, yeah man. Now him make him way up to where Luke is, right, and then confront Luke, who basically they get shot and him was injured and him pinned down in a female location, but he might return fire, and thing. And little after that, because he couldn't manage himself, him get taken out, right, by an explosion. Now Theo escorts Key and the baby out, right? Now one British soldier him running, right? But when him see baby, him just pause like, I want baby that, and the fishes them temporarily stop fighting, basically. Both sides stop fight because of this baby. And then basically just make them just take time, walk out of the building, take time, go down stairs, take time, reach out side a good little distance. And then somebody, I don't know, somebody start at the firing and the two sides them start fire upon one another. But, of course, Key and Theo and the baby would have been a good little distance away where them can run, right? They meet up back now with the Romanian woman, right? And she leads them to the boat. But when time she put them in the boat, Theo, I wonder why she not coming with them. And she said, no, the two on go on, because she basically have to, them and thing, and there's really not enough, room for them to be able to get away. Of course, I forgot to mention that while Theo was on the run and coming up, he would have gotten injured, right? So for a good little while, I was wondering if he was gonna die, you know what I'm saying? And then when I see him go up on the boat, I'm like, all right, him look like him home free. Him look like him good, right? Then we see them come out of that. It's like a little underground tunnel, the rowboat did under, and then you see come out like one pipe. There's a lot of fog outside and, on the sea, basically. So you hardly can see the sea, but what they saw and they kept rowing for was this boy, you don't know, a buoy is like this floating object in the sea, and it has a light on it, right? And basically just kind of give you give ships and people an idea that they're near shore or whatever. So they rode for it because they were told to go towards that buoy, right? So them head for it and think. While they're going there now, that is a rendezvous point anyways, right? While they're going there, Theo now actual key say boy him the shot, right? You know what I'm saying? Them kind of in a safe space and now so him can reveal say boy, this is it. And him, you can hear him basically saying, because they had a thing, right? She said that she wanted to name the baby one funny name, and Theo was like, no, that's terrible. Don't name the baby that. But then she gives the baby the name Dylan, which is Theo's dead son, right? Which is basically like an honor to Theo, basically. So it's a way for them to remember him by, right? So, at this point, you can see, say, boy, the journey done for Theo, right? And thing, he collapses in the boat. And then we see the tomorrow approach, through the fog towards the boy, right? And as the screen cuts to black, we can hear the laughter of children, and that just makes you kind of feel like things ended up great, even though you didn't see Key and the baby reaching their intended destination or reaching actual safety. But, you felt that at least something good would have come of it. Yeah. So that's it. That is my interpretations and analysis of Children of Men. What did you think? Let me know down in the comment section. These are some of my theories about some of the unresolved mysteries and some plot points. So, Children of Men, we have a very jaded ex-activist, right, Theo Farron, who has become a bureaucrat. He gets recruited by the Fishes, no pun intended, right? Which is a rebel group, to escort Key, the first pregnant woman in 18 years at that point, to the coast for the mythical, and I say that in quote unquote, human project. Right? And these are supposed to be some scientists who might cure infertility and such, right? Because scientists are smart, right? Theo exchange friend Jasper, which I incorrectly named him as a father, but Michael Caine helps to escape. He's a father figure, from the government, and basically through the government forces and the fishes fighting, right? They are able to escape. The Luke and the fishes, they want the baby for propaganda, right? They are faced with brutal refugee camps, the betrayal, by Luke, who stays Julian's death, Jasper's sacrifice, and then Theo had to help to give birth to Key, help Key give birth to the baby, right? In the middle of a war zone, right? Without any training or understanding of the whole thing, right? He had to do it. Him get wounded, and he has to, at the same time, guide Key and baby Dylan to the boat, right? At the shock and awe of the soldiers, them, And in a way, this is symbolizing some fleeting hope before the violence resume, right? Theo dies from his wounds just as the Human Project boat appears offshore. So, here are the theories and unresolved mysteries. Number one, infertility and the cause of it, right? So, we get to understand from the beginning of the film, say, the world is in crisis. There's a big epidemic of infertility. We get some hints that there is some virus and population pollution, and perhaps even some kind of divine punishment, question mark. But it's never fully explained, right? And so we have to kind of try and work out why it is, right? It could have been stemming from some kind of climate collapse, right? Something happening, right? Something in the food, water, whatever it is, right? Or it could have been some kind of scientific experiment gone wrong, which caused some societal sterility, right? And, there are some, half-baked ones like, oh, humanity has become more immoral and there is some thing to do with, the spiritual element of it. But all of these aren't fully explained theories. And, for a one-off movie, we can understand, would wish to get like a little explanation to that, right? That is the one thing I can take away from the movie, that we never really understood what it stemmed from. Yeah, you want to kind of leave it ambiguous because you want to make people feel like they need to look at most things, but sometimes you need to point at something so people can look into it deeper, and get something out of it. Number two is the human project's existence. So again, this is something that is hinted at. Several characters refer to it as some kind of sanctuary, something that is scientific, some scientific research thing. And there's also the bad part of the science too, where it could be some kind of experimentation that is going to take humans out of the equation or something, cause some great thing, right? The boat arrival suggests some legitimacy to it. However, we don't know how far it goes because basically when the boat arrived, that's when the show done, right? And it cuts the black and we only hear children laughter. But we don't know whether those children are laughing, because kids will laugh even in the worst of circumstances. And it's been known that even in Nazi Germany, kids were laughing, right? In the camps, right? In the war camps and stuff. They were laughing same way because, kids will always find some way to laugh. So it doesn't really hint that things went well for everyone. It just only hinted that kids were laughing, right? So maybe, and this is another theory, that you have some kind of secret government psyop, right, which is basically some way to keep humans in check. So that is why, the whole propaganda is pushed out there, or, to make the headlines to say, human infertility continues and whatever. Who knows? Maybe, babies have been born in for the 18 years, but, they just take them and put them in, some camp and make them grow up, and we never know that, these kids actually existed, and, further in the crisis for some political gain or some, reason, right? Who knows? When some people are in power, they will do these things, right? Or it could be a genuine offshore remnant of science. It could be some scientists who saw things was happening from the beginning and be like, all right, we need to kind of do a thing, but the government now support we. we now get, we're being thrown into the shadows and stuff. So let us stay in the shadows, but help humanity nonetheless. Because you have some good scientists like that. You have some people out there doing great work. I have to big them up, right? I don't know them personally, but we do know that there are some out there that are trying to do well by human standards. Now, number 3 would be Baby Dylan's fate, right? As I mentioned in the last one, that we don't know if Key really reached safety, right? And they're able to repopulate, right, the earth. They're able to figure out the science or the particular thing that caused her to give birth under the circumstances that she did, right? The way how the soldiers them reverence hints at some kind of paradigm shift, Zine, something happening, right? One theory that is out there is that some kind of Christ-like messianic figure, right? I think Screen Rant might have, hinted at it. And the film's humanitarianism, it prioritizes hope over uncertainty. Yeah, so in a way you can say, yeah, they did stop fighting to allow this child to pass safely, even though they resume fighting right after, right? And not even waiting till them reach, a little more distance. But yeah, there's some hope. That's basically what it's trying to hint at. Number 4, Theo's arc, right? So we find that this man, right, from the get-go, we can see that based on what we learn of him, his character is the type of person who would have been called a cynic, right? With all the things that are going around him never take into everything. He didn't really care much about anything, really, because him just did want for us get by day to day. Many of us have gotten that way, through certain circumstances and things. In Theo's circumstance, it's because of the loss of his child, right? And perhaps even the relationship that he had with his ex-wife, right? When they divorced. And he ended up becoming a savior, right? Saving the life of a child, a newly born child, in trading for his life, basically. So he gave up his life, right? So there is some element of redemption, right? And this comes via some paternal protection because he having had a child and losing a child understands the pain that us parents fear or worry about sometimes, right? And this mirrors what some absent fathers would be like in a childless world, right? Yeah. So, what do you think about those theories and unresolved mysteries? Share your favorite Children of Men moments or theories. Drop them in the comments. In this episode, we looked at Children of Men. And as I mentioned before at the beginning, I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I picked up this film, right, to watch and to even say I'm going to put it on the podcast, because I thought from the title, right, and just a little snippet that, that this was some kind of alien something or something, far reaching, but it turned out to be a dystopian mirror into what is happening now, what is happening in our society now. It was so poignant. You didn't need aliens, you didn't need time travel, you didn't need, all of those great scientific fictional elements to make this film teach us right? In the way that we can be able to say that 2027, next year, we aren't sure if that's where our world will be. That is where we're at now, and it's 2026. 10 years ago, this film, could have sounded very far off, like it might not happen for another 20 years or so, but this is actually happening now. And you just have to just, you know, you just have to be so aware of what is going on in your society, right? And the more awareness, yes, it's gonna make you feel worried about how things are going, right? But there are good reasons for that, and that's why we have to care about what's going on. We have to lobby for certain things. We have to make our voices heard about the treatment of individuals, right, here and abroad, right? Just because we are not them doesn't mean that it affects us any less, right? Because there's a saying in Jamaica, donkey say the world no level, right? And if we understand that, basically I say that one day it can be up and the next day it can be down, right? And we're all a part of this world, aren't we? Right? So just because it might be down for others today doesn't mean that our day ain't coming. Doesn't mean that things can't be as bad as we see on the silver screen or on the plasma screen or on whatever we're watching device or whatever we're watching these movies and TV shows on. And that's why week after week I come here and I talk. Even if it's just 5 person I see listening this thing, I'm going to be continuing to talk about this thing because I think that one day we will be able to listen and hear the cries of even the lesser man and understand it because we have found ourselves in it. Because what? We did not take these things as warnings. We did not take time to figure out the problems down there so before it reached us. We decided to ignore it, and this is what happens. When you ignore something, this is what happens. Right? So the specific circumstances, they might not seem to play out in the exact way, but if you're seeing hints of it, are you just going to sit by and just allow it to continue happening? I say no. What do you say? And that's why my job becomes even more important on this podcast, right? This is why this podcast remains unmonetized, and it's a passion for me because I think it is important to educate and elevate our society from where we are. We're not there yet. We need much more. We have far more to go to avoid these little things. We keep going into these things. It's almost like we're steering the Titanic right into the iceberg, even though we know it's there. That is it. And that's the wrap on this episode. We've crossed another milestone, and now the mission continues as we set our sights on 2,000 downloads. If you enjoyed the ride, be sure to follow, like, and share. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one. This content is CAN-credentialed, which means you can report instances of harassment, abuse, or other harm on their hotline at 617-249-4255 or on their website at creatoraccountabilitynetwork.org.